Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Friday Night Live. Guest this week is Simon Chapple. Simon, thank you so much for coming on the live.
Thanks for having me. It's always good to be here
Yeah,
and
nice to
great to
see
be in
you
your group.
again on firework night.
Yeah, if you hear any bangs, it's because there's a firework display just
Display
up the
going on
road.
in the background. I'd
Yeah.
forgotten, but it's not really an American thing, firework night, is it? I don't think they really have it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's a peculiarly English thing. So yeah, so for our American listeners, it's a night where we celebrate the torturing to death of a Catholic by setting off loads of fireworks. So you might hear some fireworks in the background. But anyway, Simon, thank you so much for coming on. I think probably virtually everyone watching this knows who you are, but there might be a few people who don't. And anyway, I think it would be great to hear your story again, which is extremely interesting. So do you want to sort of give us a brief introduction?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, and actually, yeah, maybe a few people don't know my story, and I think with all of us, our story kind of evolves over time as we learn more things. So
Yeah, we sort of review it with the benefit of hindsight, don't you? And
yeah,
kind of think, oh,
exactly.
actually, there was that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be episode 3 of my story. um, but I'll make it the long story short as well. But I started out drinking at around 14 years old, I'd say. And looking back, I've joined up the dots through the work that I've done on myself and realized that I was drinking to change the way that I felt. And that a lot of that came from stuff that happened in my early years. My mum and dad got divorced when I was 2. My dad was never even interested in me after I was born, and then he left the family home. He was rarely in my life. Then I was sexually abused when I was 13 by a neighbour, and that kind of I didn't realize, but it wasn't long after that I started taking the remains of my dad's wine to my bedroom, sneaking it out there every single night. And as I say, I didn't know it at the time, but I was just trying to change the way I felt. Instead of looking at why I felt the way I felt, alcohol just provided this really easy solution for me. Drink a couple of glasses and I felt different. The anxiety went, the sad feelings just faded away. But I started drinking it every single day. And then when I hit 25, I moved into my first house with my wife. And then the wine bottles went up to wine boxes, and the whole thing just went up several gears. And every day I had to have alcohol every day. It got me through. And I just didn't look at it. I was in this state of ignorant bliss, doing everything I could to justify to myself that my drinking was okay. I wasn't drinking like my friends. Yet all the while I was becoming more and more emotionally detached, more and more depressed, more and more anxious. My relationship started to suffer. After my son was born, I wasn't being the dad that I kind of knew I could be, but he would emotionally trigger me and I'd get upset about things that seemed perhaps insignificant to other people. And then several years before I managed to quit, I started, I'm sure I saw something on the news that was talking about the dangers of alcohol, the sort of thing that I usually turned off. And I started listening to it, what it did to the mind and what it did to the body. And that seed was planted. That was the moment I moved out of ignorant bliss. Suddenly I was aware and realized there was this problem that I needed to address. And once that inner conflict is there, then we've got to do something about it. There's no going back to ignorant bliss. I knew I had to start moving forward and make some changes to my life. And that resulted in about 5 years of day one, buying low alcohol drinks, trying to cut down, drink later in the day, water down my wine, only drink at the weekends. None of it worked. And then it was only when I started to really view it as a lifestyle choice, look at the beliefs that I had about alcohol, like alcohol helps my anxiety, alcohol helps me relax, alcohol's a reward, alcohol's fun, all of those things, that I was able to get a new perspective on it. And I started educating myself about it, reading books like yours that massively helped me just shift my perspective and view this as a powerful lifestyle choice that I was making for myself. And that was over 3 years ago. I've never looked back. And I started a blog when I quit drinking and a YouTube channel. People started visiting and leaving comments. And perhaps foolishly, I announced on social media about 2 weeks after I quit that I was never drinking again. I wouldn't recommend that.
No.
However, it helped me because it also sort of ramped up the pressure. So from the blog, people were making lots of positive comments and sharing their stuff. I'd started a Facebook group, and I kind of put this pressure on myself, which actually, for me, it really helped. Again, I'm not necessarily suggesting that as a solution to anybody. I think you need to do it when you feel really ready. But it worked for me. And then I also started writing my first book, The Sober Survival Guide, a few months after I quit, just kind of journaling my experience, but putting it in, it was very cathartic, putting it into a sort of book format. And then probably 6 months after I quit, I asked Annie Grace, who wrote This Naked Mind, onto my YouTube channel, not thinking that she would come on there, because she was a bit of a superstar in my eyes. And actually she said yes. She came on, and at the end of the video that we recorded together, she said, "You'd make an amazing coach. Have you ever thought of becoming a coach?" And I hadn't. And she flew me out to the US and trained me up as a coach, and that's what I now do. I've written my third book, which isn't about stopping drinking. It's about healing emotional trauma and emotional neglect in childhood. That comes out in December. And yeah, the rest is kind of, well, the rest's all over the internet.
History, yeah. That one thing you said that I found really interesting, you were saying about when you were drinking, you kind of like, and fatherhood and like overreacting or reacting in a different way to things your kids had done. Because I found that I was just, for me, it was losing my temper.
Yeah.
I'd fly off the handle about stuff. And looking back on it now, it was a complete overreaction. And kind of what I realize now, it's just that feeling tired, and that thing that alcohol does to you, that anxiety it triggers in you the next day. And I always thought I had a problem with my temper that I put back partly to my military service. But having quit drinking, I think I've got quite an even temper. I think I tend, looking around at other parents, and actually, I will say this quietly, but my wife, I tend to lose my temper with the kids a lot less than other people. And I think it's just that, getting your brain chemistry back to normal and sleeping properly, you're just in a better position to be a parent. Because I always say the two things you need for parenthood is energy and patience. And that's just something drinking absolutely robs you of, doesn't it?
That's absolutely true. I think for me, it was probably a bit deeper, but I completely agree that once I cut alcohol out, I just felt more mentally resilient and calmer and less triggered by things emotionally. So rejection is a big thing for me, as you can imagine, like with my dad abandoning the family home. But I also think that when we drink, we never allow ourselves to truly feel the difficult feelings, and perhaps a lot of the good feelings too. Well, actually, yeah, and a lot of the good feelings. We just don't really feel a great deal. We're emotionally shut down. And I think for me, it was really kind of working out like what's going on here when that did come up, and being able to look at all the parts of myself, not just the good bits, but perhaps the darker parts of me as well, that sometimes maybe I'll judge somebody, or I'll act in a way that's rude or whatever, or snappy to my son, like we were saying. But then when I wasn't drinking, I was able to step back and journal it, explore it. Okay, well, where's that coming from? But yeah, you're right. I found it reduced by 75% in my case. And then I was able to look closer at, through the work I'd done around quitting alcohol, what's going on? How am I feeling? Has something triggered that? And often I could trace back a trigger of something, but that's because of my stuff that went on in the past.
Did you get a better, I mean, have you kind of got a better grip of that stuff in your past now and sort of got a bit more on top of it? I mean, is that, I suppose as well, because you're not anesthetizing it through alcohol, it's allowed you to actually shine a light on it and do something proper about it, rather than just sort of paper over the cracks.
In some respects, it's been there's parts of it I'd say were probably more challenging than quitting drinking, and some parts of it were more rewarding than quitting drinking. But I would never have been able to do what I call that second phase of sobriety when there's past trauma or emotional abuse or whatever. I never would have been able to have done that if I hadn't stopped drinking. It was simply keeping me stuck. But yeah, I've done a lot of therapy work, and I'm in a men's group where we all share really openly with each other. I practice radical honesty. I mean, so many people I work with who want to quit drinking struggle with people pleasing and not being able to say no. And a lot of that is around toxic shame. And I believe toxic shame is at the heart of a lot of addictions, that we come into adulthood with this kind of sense of just not being good enough in some way. We can't quite put our finger on where it came from. And often it's linked to something from the past, not always, but there's some level of toxic shame. And I think it's about healing toxic shame. And I know it's a bit of a kind of cliche, people say it all the time, but like learning to actually love and respect ourselves again. I think at the moment, I'd say that I've definitely got to liking myself, and I'm almost at loving myself. Maybe give it a year or two.
Getting there. Yeah. So that's interesting then. So it's for you, it started off, you quit drinking, you announced it on social media, and then it was like blogging and YouTubing. Is that how you kind of started off? And then obviously more and more people started following you. Then it led to the books, and it led to the coaching thing you did with Annie Grace.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I couldn't believe the trajectory that it went on, how many people were engaging with me. I mean, I've got a Facebook group. It's got 27,000 people in it now, which I started not long after I quit drinking. And just every day there was another 30 people wanting to join this group. And it was just blowing my mind. And I guess also, what did help me, again, I practice radical honesty, so I share my stuff exactly as it is and authentically. But I think at the start, a lot of it was ego driven. So I wanted to be that person who posted that I was 100 days sober. I wanted to kind of show off about it. And I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to do this and do that, which really helped me. That ego actually helped me get through those early stages. But thankfully I've killed off a lot of that part of my ego through the work I've done, because I realized actually that a lot of that was another coping mechanism, another defense mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else are you, what do you offer at the moment? You've got your coaching, you've got the YouTube channel, and you've got a Facebook group?
Yeah, I've got a Facebook group. I don't do great amounts of one-to-one coaching, although I do offer it. So I run a program that people can join, and we have an online course. We have live coaching pretty much every night. There's a whole bunch of things that we do in there. So that's the main thing that I kind of put my energy into. But I've also discovered since I quit, those things that I loved from when I was younger that I just stopped doing. Alcohol just stole them from me. So I love painting. Obviously I love writing as well, but spend a lot of time painting now. I sort of have this dream of opening a gallery, but I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Probably, because I think one of the things that really helped me was exercise. I've always exercised.
Yeah.
And I kind of, and again, this is like what we were talking about before, when you kind of look back on your story, and you kind of, with the benefit of hindsight, it makes a bit more sense. But I started, I've always, how I used to drink was, I only ever drank at weekends. And when I wasn't drinking, I'd exercise. So I wouldn't exercise at the weekend. I probably wouldn't exercise Monday, but then Tuesday and Wednesday, I'd sort of get back to the gym and get back to running. And that kind of started from the army, because I remember like getting woken up in the army at like some ridiculous hour, and it was pitch black and freezing cold outside, and they'd run you absolutely ragged. And you'd hate every second of it. And you'd go in for breakfast in bits, and then you suddenly sit there and think, you know what, I feel good. I didn't like it, but I feel good for it. So when I quit drinking, I just kept exercising. And looking back on it, that was probably one of the saving things that I did, really helped me through it, was, that exercise at the beginning, just having that extra thing.
I've got to say, exercise has always been a big part of my life. So I've also have ADHD, which can be a blessing and a curse. So there's times when it helps me really hyper focus. Like if I'm writing a book, or I get kind of obsessed about things, and I'll see that project through. A bit like sobriety. I got obsessed about it, and I wasn't stopping until I got it. I wanted that lifestyle. And I've always exercised, and I kind of had that false belief that, well, if I exercise enough, then it offsets the however many bottles of wine
Counters
I'm
the
drinking.
alcohol. Yeah.
But I mean, again, this was another addiction. Running became an addiction for me. I did 16 marathons in 5 years, including an ultra marathon. And I mean, I must have done over 100 half marathons during that time as well,
Yeah.
easily. And every single one up until I quit, I drank the night before and drank afterwards as well, which is unbelievable. But when I quit, one of the things that really helped me was entering a marathon race. So I quit in the June or the July, I think, and I entered the Valencia Marathon in the December, and it really helped me because it gave me a focus alongside sobriety, something else to sort of work towards, another goal, another challenge. And John, that was my fastest ever marathon. I'd had 6 months without drinking, 3 hours 39, which for me was pretty good. I've only got little legs.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Jesus, it's amazing how much difference it makes, isn't it, when you're not drinking
It
to
was
that
nuts.
fitness? But it's interesting. Funny enough, someone had posted in the group today, and I think that there's almost like a common problem with people who, you know, they read the quitlet and they get everything, but they quit, and I think they almost just carry on the same lifestyle. So, you know, they get home and they sit down and put the TV on and then just sit there, because I think this is the thing, when you quit drinking, you do have more energy and you have a lot more mental focus, and you need something, otherwise you get bored.
Yeah.
So if your modus operandi is just to go home, open a bottle of wine and stick the TV on, going home and not opening a bottle of wine and sticking the TV on is probably not going to be enough for you, because most people, TV's not that interesting. It certainly isn't to me. I find I don't really watch TV now I've stopped drinking, and I put it down to the fact that I'm just not sedating myself into a position where it's enough to occupy my mind for any length of time. But I think you do need, particularly in the early days, you do need to find something, because you have a hell of a lot of extra time and energy, don't you?
So true. I mean, one benefit of stopping drinking is all those TV box sets that you watched when you were drunk, you can watch them again because you never remember them. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that you free up so much time. And I think I often talk to people about trying to sort of live in line with our values and really look at how our life aligns with our values and where it's pushing against them. And a lot of people, you know, they have a strong need for connection, a strong need for mental stimulation, but they just don't really look at it because alcohol just hits that pause button. It just numbs everything out and stops us ever getting to this place where we can start ultimately looking at who we really are. And I think alcohol just puts this whacking great mask on us, and by stopping drinking we're able to take it off and say, like, who am I really? You know, who is this person? What do I really like? Where do I need to put some boundaries in my life? What do I need to stop doing? What should I start doing? And that's what it's so much more than just stopping drinking. That's just the start.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it just opens up so much. So obviously the one of the most recent things you've done, you're doing the talk on the 2nd.
Yeah, we're putting on a live
event.
Yeah, it's called Sobriety Breakthrough Live, which is going to be awesome. Again, it was a little bit of an impulsive thing. I talked at an event for This Naked Mind in Denver, and it was just the best weekend. So many people there who were on that same journey.
Was that a whole weekend then, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. It was over 2 days, and I was lucky enough to be asked to talk at it, and which was just so outside of my comfort zone. My anxiety when I was drinking was through the roof. I used to work at a law firm many moons ago doing the marketing and had to give a presentation every month. I couldn't even stand in front of 10, 15 people to give this presentation. And at that event, there was 500 people there, and I was on the stage on my own. I was nervous, but you know, it blew me away. It was so good. So I'd long wanted to put my own event on, and COVID then struck. So I put everything on ice, and a few months ago, things started to calm down, and I thought, you know what, let's just do it. And it's kind of gathered this amazing momentum, and we've got this, obviously you're involved, you're going to be speaking live on the stage, and we've got an amazing lineup of speakers, but we've also got an after party. So I was trying to organise everything myself and realised I was a bit out of my depth. So I've got a professional event planner involved. She said to me, "What's the after party?" And I said, "Well, there's a hot buffet and some music." She said, "That is not an after party."
Sausage rolls,
so,
job done.
I've got, this is everything she's organised. I've got a list here. So we've got a samba drumming workshop, which is happening after the talk's finished to re-energise everyone. So everyone gets an instrument and the whole place, we're all playing an instrument.
I think I'll be in the toilet for that.
Yeah. We'll give you the microphone to sing. We've got calligraphy, brush art, card making, cupcake decorating. We've got somebody doing an essential oil rollerball workshop. I don't even know what that is. Piano circus skills. We've got a lady who's bringing a canvas, and anyone who attends can add some oil paint onto the canvas. So everyone puts a bit on, and by the end of the day, there's going to be this amazing painting that we've all created.
Okay.
Some mindfulness stuff, pottery painting. There's the art of journaling, a nutritionist. We've got a sleep therapy person coming who's bringing a bed to show people, to really help people get into the groove of sleeping after they quit.
Go and have a sleep. Nice.
Yeah, you just have a snooze.
Talk me through that. Talk me through the circus piano skills.
Well, I really don't know what's involved, but I think a lot of it's about just high energy and finding things that you love. And so we've called it the Happy Healthy You Hub. So it's just lots of people coming along. There's a whole bunch more as well. There's lots of these people coming along with a whole range of things that people may never have experienced before. And my hope is that not only are people going to pick up all the tools, techniques and lessons for learning how to successfully quit drinking, or if they've already stopped, they're going to just meet people and learn about long-term sobriety. They're hopefully going to discover new things and find perhaps new hobbies, new stuff that lights them up and brings them joy. And if that's piano circus skills, which clearly you're drawn to, I think I can see you there.
There's something about that that's drawing me in. Yeah. So how much are the tickets for it?
We've got a couple of different ones. They start at around, I think they're just under £80. And then there's a higher tier where you get kind of more in the goodie bag and a slightly different seat, which are just under £100. And you can add on an after party ticket as well with the hot buffet and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you who's speaking. So we've got, obviously, I'm going to be doing my bit. Yeah. We've got Rob Woolman, who's one of the Naked Mind coaches. He's flying over from the US.
He was going to say he's coming from the US, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, which is just awesome. He's like, he hasn't got a massive following and he speaks so much sense around sobriety. He's a really good teacher. And my hope is that a lot of people will discover him for perhaps the first time at this.
Funnily enough, there's someone, I won't mention his name because obviously I'll be putting this on YouTube. So I tend not to mention names of people in the group, but he's flying in from America as well. Wow. So he's specifically coming to for the event. So it's great. I can't wait to
it's just so awesome
face to face. It's such a great thing. Yeah.
Meeting people in real life and bringing all our communities together. I mean, I know there's people from Canada, people from US coming over. It's just nuts.
So one of the things I find really nice is socializing people just without alcohol there. It's just not, and you don't get enough of that. And I think it is just because I say this a lot, socializing with people when they're drinking is not pleasant, because when the drinks start to kick in, they just become really unpleasant and irritating. It's just not nice. So it's so nice to be socializing with people who just aren't drinking.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I mean, my first social event was about 2 months after I quit. I kind of purposely protected myself and didn't go I did go out, but I didn't go anywhere where there might be a risk or alcohol was being served. But it was actually about 6 months after I quit. And I remember being out, I think I was just out with friends and we were having dinner. And I remember pausing for a minute and thinking, oh my God, I'm laughing, like properly laughing and having a great time, like just in the moment. And there's no booze involved. Out and sort of checking in with myself and saying, so it wasn't alcohol that was allowing
No.
me to have fun. It was the people, it was the place.
Yeah.
And there was this sort of realization moment. And ever since then, I sort of really pay attention to how much fun I'm having. I also kind of live by this mantra that I call FOG, fear, obligation, guilt. So what I've also been able to do since I quit is get kind of selective about where I go and what I do, which when I was drinking, I didn't even give it thought, because
as long
I
as there's
couldn't
alcohol there. Yeah.
yeah, or I couldn't say no to people and just went along because I was scared of standing up for myself and conflict and rejection. So now I always do the FOG test. So if somebody invites me to something, I think, am I going out of fear, obligation, or guilt? If it's any of those, then I'm like, well, maybe I need to just say no to this one.
Yeah,
So
yeah, fair enough.
equally, the quality of my events that I attend has got better.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I'd ever go to work, but
yeah, well, if you're going through fear, obligation, or guilt, you shouldn't be there. So we've also got Mandy and Kate from Love Sober.
Yeah, who
awesome.
I've had on here, so I think most people know them. Yeah, excellent.
Some people might know Sober Dave. He's talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We've got you, then Janie Lee Grace, who...
Oh yeah, you've put me on right after lunch. It's gonna be
what better time?
As a killer. I'll have to limit how much I eat.
Yeah, but you'll have to lift everybody again after.
Yeah, I know. That's the graveyard shift. That one.
Graveyard shift. I can move you.
I'm joking. It's fine.
Janie Lee Grace, who she used to be she was on Radio 2 and a presenter on.
Yeah, Janie's
Virgin.
been on here. Janie's where I first met Dave, because
really?
Janie did a sober event in London and asked me to speak at it, and Laura Willoughby was there as well. And I walked in and got chatting to someone, because you know what it's like, you just sort of turn up and you sort of end up talking to someone, and it was Dave. And it was just after he'd quit drinking. So that was, and then of course we went into lockdown, so I didn't see him for ages after that. But yeah.
Oh, blimey.
So,
that's amazing, isn't it? And he often talks about that event and how it was such a pivotal moment for him.
Yeah.
And then we've got a couple of panel sessions, like with Q&As, and we've got Lula Benz, who runs a group called Trauma Thrivers. So she's sober, but she's not all about sobriety. She's about the link between addiction and trauma and healing past trauma. Laura Willoughby, who you mentioned, she's talking as well. And then pretty much after that, we're straight into the samba drumming workshop
and the piano circus skills.
The piano circus. I mean, I'm as intrigued as you now, because a lot of that after party I've left to the event organizer to sort of get everybody on board. So I mean, we've all got to find out what that's about, let's be honest.
Yeah, no, totally. But I was going to say, so that, I mean, the tickets are quite expensive, but just to emphasize, this isn't a thing that you're doing for profit, is it? I mean, you at the moment you're losing quite a bit of money on it.
Yeah, we're currently, I think we've another 20-30 tickets and we'll break even. And to be honest, any profit we make goes back into helping people who want to quit drinking anyway. But it's going to be a fantastic day. And to be honest, the tickets for some of the other live events that I've seen, the one in America I talked about, they were like $500 for the weekend. So and that didn't include staying over or anything. No, and I think for a full day of learning, an after party, we've got lunch included as well. So everyone gets lunch and a hot buffet. I think £100's a steal.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot involved, because I mean, we spoke about it before, and I think I kind of would have assumed like something like this. You book the hotel and you're done, but obviously there's a lot more involved. So.
Yeah, it's just bonkers. All the stuff, it's all being professionally filmed, and obviously everyone who comes will be able to watch it back. So we've got audio, visual people, lighting people, and even just the small things, the little details, lunch breaks, drinks for people, things like that. Just it was cost, all stuff I hadn't even thought about.
No. Oh dear. Well, hopefully
I'll tell you what though, we've some of the people in the sober community have just been amazing. We've had a couple of drinks brands. My shed is, maybe I shouldn't say this, I'll get robbed now, but my shed's got 500 alcohol-free drinks in it that are they're called the Alcohol Free Co. They sent us and said, just give them to people, put them in the goodie bags, and
nice.
What a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the 2nd of January, is it?
Yeah.
So straight after New Year.
and just in time for dry January as well. So
Of course. Yeah,
it could,
yeah,
it could be
absolutely.
great for anyone who's thinking, right, this is it, start of the year, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And you said you're setting it up so like people will sit on round tables
Yeah.
with others. So it's not going to be like a theatre thing. It's
No.
going to be a bit more
Yeah, it's kind of laid
interactive
back. And we've had some people kind of, if they're connecting with other people from groups they're in or whatever, we can put them all together on the same table, which is nice. Although sometimes it's nice to meet new people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So, that's fantastic. So the sleep therapy as well, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently she
Yoga,
literally specializes in helping people
people
sleep
sleep.
and sleep better. So
Because that's one
again,
of the big things I think with stopping drinking is the great sleep. And I think people quite rightly get annoyed when they quit drinking and they still don't sleep well after like a few weeks. And I do sympathize with them. But
yeah,
sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of things you can talk about, like caffeine and nicotine are stimulants which stop you sleeping. Eating large meals, because we tend to eat our main meal at evening time, but that actually interrupts your sleep and can leave you feeling tired. But actually, some people do genuinely have underlying sleep conditions.
yeah,
So
it's true. But then also the number of people who just simple things like they leave their phone on the floor while they're asleep and then it illuminates the bedroom, or they've
yeah,
got other noise kind of pollution coming in or light pollution, and they don't do a sort of audit of their bedroom to ensure they're getting the best sleep. But the first 4 or 5 days after I quit, my sleep was terrible, and it was like,
mm,
oh my god, as if it's not hard enough, now I've got this to contend with. But I dug my heels in. I knew that there was going to be that day I woke up and it was going to be the most refreshing sleep I've ever had. And it happened.
yeah. Did it happen sort of how? Do you remember how long afterwards before you started to feel like that?
Yeah, it's about 5 or 6 days in.
Okay, and that was when you were waking up feeling good.
Yeah, I felt great. I remember the
Okay.
morning, like I woke up and it was just the best sleep. This fog had just cleared.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's an interesting one. Because a lot of people, when what you often find is with regular drinkers, they go through what you've just described, where they don't sleep properly, and that's one of the reasons for that is obviously when you're not drinking and you get towards bedtime, your brain starts to close things down, so you drift into sleep, and that's why people talk about like good sleep hygiene, and you have a bath and you sit quietly and you read a book and you dim the lights because it's all sending the message to your
Yeah.
brain, wind things down, I'm going to go to bed soon. But when we drink alcohol, the alcohol is what's sedating us. So your brain doesn't go through that closing down process. So when you quit drinking, for the first few nights, you can find it incredibly difficult to get back to get to sleep because your brain is out of the habit of closing things down. And it just takes a few nights to get back into it. But that's one of those weird things with alcohol where you get that really deeply held belief that people have that alcohol helps me sleep, but
Yeah.
actually it ruins your sleep, and if you just quit for a few days you get back into that decent sleep pattern again.
Yeah, it's so true. And you're not getting the proper cycles of sleep. So it might knock you out, but why do you think you've got dark bags under your eyes? Mine were terrible. And then a month after I quit, I compared another picture of myself next to how I was then. And you could just see the difference. And
Yeah,
I could feel it too.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is as well, this impacts, this is one of the things I keep saying to people, it impacts every drinker. This
Yeah,
isn't something, because people kind of, I think even now they have this view that, you have people who drink too much, problem drinkers, and you have like normal drinkers, and normal drinkers have all the good with none of the bad. And it's like, but they don't.
no.
If they are carbon-based human being life forms, it impacts their sleep, and they don't sleep properly when they drink alcohol. Even 1 or 2 drinks will impact their sleep.
Yeah, I believe normal drinkers are just a myth. They're like unicorns. There's not many of them about, because I remember I was doing an interview with a lady from the Daily Telegraph, and she was intrigued. I could tell she was like really inquisitive, as well as being a journalist, but
Yeah, yeah.
she was taking a real interest in sobriety. But I started asking her about her own drinking, and she said, well, I drink a bottle of wine every Friday and I really look forward to it during the week. That's all I drink, so I'm pretty good. And I said to her, well, could you remove that from your life? Would you ever be able to not drink? No way, no way
Mm.
at all. And I think a lot of people would look at her as a normal drinker. However, she was still using that Friday night drink to mentally distract herself when she was having bad feelings, and just kind of look forward to it as a sort of distraction, I guess. And so to me, if she can't say that she's willing to have a life without alcohol because she needs that Friday night drink, she can't be a normal drinker. A normal drinker can just say no thanks.
My view on it is that normal drinkers are people who actually don't like drinking. They go through they're not people who have committed to a life not drinking. So they will have a drink if someone offers it to them, but they don't really like the taste and they don't really like the effect. So they'll have a sip of it and put it down and leave it. And that's what people kind of, I wish I could take it or leave it. But it's like, if you're enjoying something, you will consume it and you'll keep consuming it because it's enjoyable. The only reason you'll put it down and forget about it is because you're not really enjoying it. It really is that simple. You can't have it both ways. But talking about people, because that came up, I was having a conversation with someone the other day about this. It's like, yeah, but there's people who maybe just have a drink on, let's say, a Friday night. So they have their drink on a Friday night, but then they struggle to cut that drink out. So what's going on there? Because it's clearly not that withdrawal or anything. But again, you just then need to delve into cravings. So cravings are when you sit there and you're obsessing about wanting to have a drink. Or should I have a drink? Why can't I have a drink? I'd be so much happier if I had a drink. While you're going through those thought processes, you're not concentrating on what you would otherwise be doing. On a Friday night, that's probably, I don't know, chatting with friends or sitting in front of the TV or having a takeaway or whatever. You're not enjoying it because you're going through that thought process. So your experience of Friday night is, I don't enjoy it when I'm not drinking and I enjoy it when I am drinking. Therefore, I have to have my drink on a Friday night to enjoy myself. But all it's doing is removing that distressing mental conundrum that it caused in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And those beliefs just keep us stuck, until we're able to look at them and get clear about what they are. It's so hard to make progress. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's what I sometimes say to people is the old way, especially with smoking, it used to be make a list of all the reasons you want to quit. And actually, the better way of doing it is to make a list of all the reasons you want to carry on drinking, and then start to debunk them, because they're all debunkable. They're all false.
They so are. Is this really true? I think of it like the defense and a prosecution in a court case when I look at a belief. What would the defense say? Okay, is alcohol fun? Maybe for 30 minutes when your inhibition's lower and the chemicals doing its thing. So there's one for the defense. But the prosecution would argue, well, hangovers aren't fun. Being sick's not fun. Arguing with my wife's not fun. Crashing the car while I'm drunk's not fun. And you get the picture, and you can just look at it and think, actually, guilty.
Yeah, completely. So if people want to come to the event, where can they find the tickets? What's your website?
We've got a website for the tickets.
It's okay.
Sober Live, LIVE, soberlive.co.uk.
Excellent. You're in the Alcohol Explained Facebook group anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Can you post it in there for people?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, I'll just make a note and I'll do that.
Because just really encourage people to come, because you're putting a lot of time and effort and money into it. And I think it will be a great event. And I think the other thing is, if enough people come, it will become regular.
Well, that was my hope.
That's the fingers crossed, isn't it? To try and
I'd love to do it annually and make it a kind of way of kicking off the new alcohol-free year.
Does Annie Grace do an annual one, does she?
She was until COVID struck.
Oh, right, okay.
She can't come over from the US, but she's answering questions from the audience. She's pre-recording a bunch of videos that people have put forward as well. Nice,
excellent, cool. So sorry, tell us if you drop the website into the chat then, on the post or just do a separate post in the Facebook group.
Yeah, sure. Fantastic. Yeah, I'll put it in the thread under this live after we've signed off. I'll post it on there, and
excellent.
Then and I suppose we didn't mention it's in Guildford in Surrey.
It is, yeah, probably ought to mention that.
Yeah. It's on the Outer Hebrides. So it's like 40 minutes south of London, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a direct train from London, isn't there? It's not particularly problematic to get
it's not fun. There's loads of people coming from the community. I just think it's going to be one of those days that people remember for a long, long time.
I think so. It's going to be fun. Yeah,
it really is. So I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Simon, thank you so much for coming on to the live.
It's been brilliant. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Take care and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.